Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Badani. Thanks for joining us. You're watching World Today. I'm Brendan Paul. Here's a brief look at today's top stories. A total of 126 Rohingya refugees were relocated from outside the UNHCR office after setting up tents and turning the area into a temporary settlement, which authorities said was not permitted at the sensitive location. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief said police, together with the Immigration Department, relocated all the refugees to the Kuala Lumpur Police Contingent Headquarters to undergo screening and documentation. Iran said it is not currently negotiating with the U.S., stressing that it will prioritize national interests and will not allow Washington to decide the timing of war or peace. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said talks with Tehran have been very friendly. Russia said it is open to considering new ideas and proposals for the Ukraine peace process. However, the Kremlin said it has not received any details on new peace proposals ahead of Tuesday's meeting in Washington between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Chinese rescuers are continuing their search for more than a dozen missing sailors from a Vietnamese vessel that shipwrecked in the South China Sea over the weekend. A total of 62 people were on board the ship. At least 30 people were killed when armed men attacked a village in Nigeria's northwestern Kaduna state. 8 children were among the dead. The attackers stormed Naridon village in Kairu local government area and opened fire on residents. A total of 126 Rohingya refugees were relocated from outside the office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR, after they set up tents and turned the area into a temporary settlement. Authorities said the area outside the UNHCR office is a sensitive location and cannot be used as a temporary settlement by any individual or community. All the refugees have been relocated to the Kuala Lumpur Police Contingent Headquarters to undergo screening and documentation. Kuala Lumpur Police Chief Dato' Fadil Marsus said those without documents will be detained, while those with documents will first have their status verified by the UNHCR. Earlier, Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim said the gathering outside the UNHCR building had raised concerns from the public and warned that anyone without proper permits would be detained by immigration authorities. Iran is not currently negotiating with the United States. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai said that the United States initially believed it could destroy Iran and force its surrender in the early stages of a war, but now, 5 months later, it is deeply mired in a quagmire of its own making. Baghai stressed that Iran will prioritize the protection of its national interests and will not allow the U.S. to decide the timing of war and peace, regardless of the past or the future.
طبیعی است که هیچ تفاهمی نمیتواند یک سویه اجرا بشه و متقابلا ما هم اجرای تعهداتمون رو متوقف کردیم. این که در آینده ما به چه سمت و سوی خواهیم رفت، این رو باید زمانی که برسیم به اونجا در موردش صحبت بکنیم. اما یک چیز مشخص است: ما به هیچ عنوان از اصول و مبانی که به عنوان منافع و امنیت ملی خودمون تعریف کردیم به هیچ عنوان کوتاه نخواهیم اومد.
He said that although the situation in the region had been relatively calm in the past few days, it cannot be called a ceasefire. The spokesman warned that Iranian armed forces are closely monitoring the situation and any inappropriate actions by the U.S. military will be met with an immediate and resolute response from Iran. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday that the U.S. has been having very friendly talks with Iran.
You know, a lot of people were against that war. We don't want the Venezuela. Why are you doing what you did after we won in about 48 minutes approximately. They said, oh, that was a good move. Well, the same thing's happening in Iran. People just don't see it. We have destroyed their Navy. We've destroyed their Air Force. We've destroyed their leadership. We've destroyed their anti-aircraft weaponry. Their drones are being made at a rate of about 7%. We destroyed most of their drone manufacturing capability, their missile manufacturing capability. And right now they're talking to us about making a deal. But if we didn't do it tough, there would be no talk.
U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, said on Monday that its forces had redirected 17 commercial vessels, disabled 2, and boarded 2 while enforcing a U.S. maritime blockade against Iran. In a post on U.S. social media company X, CENTCOM said the actions were carried out to ensure compliance during operations in the Arabian Sea. CENTCOM also shared a photo showing a U.S. sailor standing watch aboard the vessel as it patrolled the Arabian Sea in support of the blockade. The command did not identify the vessels involved or provide further details on the enforcement actions. Oil prices tumbled more than 5% on Monday after the US and Iran paused strikes over the weekend following 2 weeks of attacks, raising hopes of a diplomatic solution that would de-escalate the conflict and allow shipping to resume in the Straits of Hormuz. Brent crude futures fell to $5.70 or around 5.9% to $91.08 a barrel after briefly slipping under the key support level of $90 earlier in the session. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $84.51 a barrel, down $4.80 or around 5.4%. Both contracts are trading at their lowest levels in nearly a week after rising for the past 3 weeks. Brent had reached $100 per barrel as the conflict, which reduced oil shipments via the Strait of Hormuz, spilled over the Red Sea, hindering exports from the world's top exporter, Saudi Arabia, via the Bab el-Mandeb Strait to Asia. Russia is open to considering new ideas and proposals related to the Ukraine peace process. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova made the comments after a Ukrainian source told last week that US and Ukrainian officials had been discussing a proposal for an air ceasefire to take to Russian counterparts as part of a new round of peace talks.
С своей стороны подтверждаем готовность к политико-дипломатическому урегулированию украинского кризиса, от чего никогда не отказывались, я даже сегодня примеры приводила, но на основе взаимопониманий, в том числе достигнутых на Аляске, вновь подтверждаем готовность к возможным обсуждениям, предложениям, идеям, которые мы готовы будем рассмотреть. От этого никто никогда у нас не отказывался.
The Kremlin said earlier on Monday that it had not seen any specific information regarding new peace proposals ahead of a planned meeting on Tuesday in Washington between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. U.S. President Donald Trump called on the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates, saying the U.S. should have the lowest interest rates in the world. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One, Trump said rates should be lowered, adding that the U.S. should have rates in line with those of other countries.
Rates should be lowered. This country could be at 8%, 9%, 10%, 12% GDP. That's what it should be. We have other countries that are paying less interest rates, and if it wasn't for us, they wouldn't even exist. It's ridiculous. And they call them elite. We have other countries. I don't want to really mention names of countries, but I could give you plenty. That they take money out of the U.S., and because of that, they get a lower interest rate than we do. And it shouldn't be that way. We should have the lowest interest rate in the world. I could take the money that these countries are making, put it into our portfolio, and we should have the lowest interest rate in the world, like it used to be 30 years ago. We always made the lowest rate.
Peru's president-elect Keiko Fujimori is set to be sworn into office, marking a historic milestone as the first woman elected by popular vote to lead the Andean nation. Her inauguration caps a months-long electoral process and a political journey spanning more than 3 decades from her early public appearances alongside her father, late President Alberto Fujimori, to 4 presidential campaigns of her own. According to Peru's National Elections Jury, she secured 9,223,396 votes, or 50.2% of valid ballots, compared with Sanchez's 49.9%, one of the narrowest margins in Peru's recent history. The result concluded a 22-day vote review process and paved the way for a transfer of power from outgoing interim president Jose Maria Balcazar. The inauguration also represents a personal political comeback for Fujimori, who reached the presidency on her 4th attempt after narrowly losing presidential runoffs in 2011, 2016, and 2021. To come at least 30 dead in village attacks in Nigeria's Kaduna state. Stay tuned.
Hai, saya Nadia Nasa, seorang pelakon. Tapi skrip yang ni, saya tulis, saya Arab. Erisha.
Bersama saya, Erisha Amira.
Ini cerita tenaga dalam diri. Bukan sekadar satu dimensi. Kerana selagi kami terus bertenaga, action.
Selagi itulah, kami akan terus berani untuk mencipta. Sedia? Cerita nama.
Welcome back. Indian authorities have suspended a policeman for firing rounds in the air from an assault rifle to disperse student protesters in an eastern state over the weekend, the latest flashpoint in a wave of youth protests that forced the federal education minister to resign. Police have been accused of using excessive force at the protests, including beating students with canes and firing tear gas to push back tens of thousands marching to Parliament in the capital, New Delhi, on Monday. In videos uploaded to social media by students, a policeman in riot gear can be seen running towards a group of protesters in the eastern city of Siwan in Bihar state on Saturday, pointing an AK-47 at them and firing at least 3 shots in the air. Senior Bihar police official Nilesh Kumar said no one was wounded and that a constable, part of an intelligence unit which deals with dreaded hardcore criminals, had been issued the assault rifle. The protests were triggered by the leakage of question papers for a National Medical College entrance exam in May, taken by more than 2 million students and forcing a retest. At least 30 people were killed when armed men attacked a village in Nigeria's northwestern Kaduna state. Secretary to the village head, Dogon Rana, said gunmen stormed the community, shooting randomly and burning houses. 8 children were among the dead, while 4 other people sustained injuries. Youth leader Ishaya Dawa said the attackers stormed Naridon village in Kairu local government area close to midnight and opened fire on residents. Dawa said some residents were slaughtered, adding that several bodies had been taken to the mortuary. He added the security personnel arrived at the village in the morning hours after the attack. Violence by armed gangs and other criminal groups has become a major security challenge across parts of northwestern and north-central Nigeria, where communities are frequently targeted in deadly raids. Officials in Seattle said they are looking for a possible 3rd suspect in a shooting that left 3 people dead and several wounded, including a toddler, at a downtown Seattle food festival on Sunday. Seattle Mayor Kathy Wilson and Seattle Police Office Nicole Powell told investigations are still ongoing and appeal for the public for information on the shooting. A 15-year-old juvenile was taken to custody after the shooting.
We now know that at least 2 people exchanged gunfire outside the Seattle Center Armory. 1 is in custody, and the 2nd has been identified as the 19-year-old deceased man. This is new information in our ongoing investigation. police continue to look for a third possible suspect.
At this point, we believe this could be gang-related. There were two groups firing in the area near the armory during the bite of Seattle. We believe two of the individuals were associates with each other. This is the 19-year-old who passed away and the 15-year-old who was arrested last night. There have been a lot of questions about cameras. Our detectives are still collecting and reviewing video evidence from buildings around the area.
Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa announced on Monday the evacuation of about 1,000 more of its nationals from South Africa following the deterioration of the security situation linked to recent xenophobic violence. Ablakwa said the Ghanaian government had obtained the endorsement of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government to pursue the matter within the framework of the African Union, where the petition is expected to be formally discussed at an appropriate meeting.
Following the deterioration of the situation in South Africa, the government had to undertake an evacuation exercise using chartered flights in the first phase. Under the first phase, 926 Ghanaian nationals who sought voluntary evacuation were evacuated from Johannesburg.
The minister also said the petition highlights the recurring loss of lives, attacks on African migrants, destructions of businesses and threats posed to the principles of African unity, free movement and continental integration. According to the Ghanaian Foreign Affairs Minister, the government would continue engaging with the African Union to seek a coordinated continental response aimed at promoting accountability, protecting African migrants and preventing further xenophobic violence.
Tutup tingkap dan pintu untuk kekal dingin dan lebih jimat.
Chinese rescuers are continuing their search for more than a dozen missing sailors from a Vietnamese vessel that shipwrecked in the South China Sea over the weekend. The Vietnamese vessel Coi Nguyen 18 is thought to have sank in the South China Sea in the early hours of Saturday, with rescue teams from China's Nanhai Rescue Bureau of the Ministry of Transport having deployed multiple vessels and scouring an expansive sea area of approximately 3,600 square kilometers. Chinese authorities said 48 crew members of the sunken Vietnamese ships were rescued, including one person who was found by the Vietnamese side. A total of 62 people were on board the ship. Since China's Nanhai Rescue Bureau joined the search and rescue operation on Saturday, the team has deployed professional rescue forces for multiple rounds of searches, including undertaking 2 vessel sorties and 6 helicopter flights. President Emmanuel Macron has attended an emergency cabinet meeting to coordinate efforts to contain massive wildfires ravaging southwest France, as early signs emerge that the blazes may be starting to slow. Macron said work had been done to build fire breaks in the last 24 hours, but he remained cautious as to how the Gironde fire might evolve, with temperatures set to rise and windy conditions still in place. Meanwhile, Interior Minister Laurent Nunez said that wildfires had not progressed during the night, but cautioned that authorities had to remain very concentrated, very determined to go at any moment. Firefighters battled the blaze throughout the night, and the provincial authority of Gironde, the wine-growing region that includes Bordeaux, said the situation remained broadly stable. The blazes, which broke out last week near the Atlantic coast, are now 15 kilometers away from entry points to the main metropolitan area of Bordeaux. Raging wildfires have forced the evacuation of over 220,000 people from the Gironde department in southwestern France as the devastating flames continue to spread. As the disaster intensifies, local authorities in Giron ordered an additional 55,000 residents to be evacuated on the outskirts of Bordeaux late on Saturday, with at least 42,000 hectares of land being destroyed in the prefecture so far. Thousands of evacuees are now packed into emergency shelters with no timeline given as to when they may be able to return, as firefighters battle to bring the blaze under control. Many spoke of the sense of urgency which they had to leave their homes.
Et à 2 h du matin, je commence à peine à m'endormir. Et d'un coup, la sonnerie de mon portable, poum, 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 poum. Et tout le monde se réveille en panique. Dehors, les voisins en panique aussi, ils prenaient leur voiture. J'ai fait mes affaires en vite fait avec mes parents.
Despite the hasty nature of the emergency evacuation, a strong team of volunteers is on hand to serve food, set up beds, make extra room for additional people who may need to shelter here.
En fin de compte, c'est énormément de personnes d'un coup, avec plusieurs grosses villes de la région bordelaise qui ont été demandées à être évacuées.
For now, residents can only stay and wait for news as emergency crews fight to save the communities they had to leave behind. In sports, Muhammad Ari emulates father's feat to deliver Malaysia's third goal. Stay tuned.
Guna mentol jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
We begin with the latest from the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games. National weightlifter Muhammad Ari Hidayat delivered a gold medal for Malaysia after winning the men's 79 kilograms category. The 26-year-old secured the title with a combined lift of 331 kilograms, setting new Commonwealth Games records in both the clean and jerk and the overall total. The victory earned Muhammad Ari his first Commonwealth Games gold medal, improving on the silver he won in the men's 73-kilogram category at Birmingham 2022. India's Valuri Ajaya Babu took the silver medal with a total lift of 330 kilograms. The triumph was made even more meaningful as Muhammad Ari followed in the footsteps of his father Hidayat Hamidon, who won gold at the Kuala Lumpur 1998 Commonwealth Games. Muhammad Ari delivered Malaysia's third gold medal on Saturday, following victories by teammates Muhammad Anik Kasdan, Muhammad Aznil Bidin in their respective categories. In tennis, Leylah Fernandez began her Washington, D.C. title defense with a straight sets victory over Poland's Magda Linette on Monday, winning 6-1, 6-4. The 7th-seed Canadian needed just 80 minutes to seal the win, improving to 4-1 in her career meetings with Linette. Fernandez, who won her first WTA 500 title in the U.S. capital last year, is seeking to revive her season after a string of early exits in 2026. She will next face either Philippines' Alexandra Ayala or China's Zheng Qingwen for a place in the quarter-finals. Slovenia's Tadej Pogačar celebrated his record-equaling 5th Tour de France title, saying he wants to savor the achievement before deciding on his future racing schedule, including whether to compete in next month's Vuelta a España. The 27-year-old UAE Team Emirates XRG rider joined elite company alongside Jacques Anquetil, Eddie Merckx, Beno Hino and Miguel Indurain as a 5-time Tour champion. Reflecting on his dominant performance across the 3-week race, Pogacar dismissed immediate thoughts of celebration or record books, stating his focus remains on returning home to relax.
Right now I just want to enjoy the moment of winning the Tour. If it's 5th or the 1st, doesn't matter. It's unbelievable to wear the yellow jersey and cross the line in Paris winning it. So I will just enjoy the moment, not thinking about any history, about any clubbing or whatever. I just want to live this moment and come back home and relax and enjoy small things of in life as well. So I'm really happy and proud to win the 5th Tour.
Pogacar's victory was his 3rd in a row, with only Indurain able to say he has won the Tour 5 times on the spin, taking consecutive victories from 1991 to 1995. And turning on to Formula One, Petronas clarified that although it holds the naming rights to the Petronas Sepang International Circuit, SIC, the circuit is owned by Sepang International Circuit Sdn Bhd, a company under the Minister of Finance Incorporated. The National Oil Company said the circuit is operated by an agency under the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Petronas said it does not manage, control or have access to ticket allocations, sales or distribution for the events, as it is not the organizer. In a statement, the company said ticket sales are handled solely by the event organizer and its authorized channels. Petronas issued the clarification following public interest surrounding the upcoming Formula One Gulf Air Bahrain Grand Prix, scheduled to take place on 2nd to the 4th of October 2026. South Sudanese Olympian and professional basketball player Wenyan Gabriel has been announced as UNHCR's newest Goodwill Ambassador. Gabriel was born in the Sudanese capital Khartoum. At the age of 2, he and his family fled civil war in Sudan and were eventually resettled in the United States after some time in Egypt as refugees. Gabriel has played basketball in the NBA for the Los Angeles Lakers and Portland Trail Blazers and is, according to UNHCR, the first ever basketball player to serve as a Goodwill Ambassador for the organization. Before his official appointment with the UNHCR, Gabriel visited Maban in South Sudan. He met with Sudanese refugees, listened to their stories and inaugurated a new basketball court at Doro refugee camp. Gabriel's new title comes ahead of the 75th anniversary of the Refugee Convention on 28 July.
What I want the world to understand about the humanitarian crisis in South Sudan is that they're already facing crises of their own. There's over 2 million people internally displaced currently, and now South Sudan has taken in over 600,000 refugees coming from the crises in Sudan. So this is a country that's already hurt, already struggling, and they're still accepting more people with open arms.
And that concludes today's edition of World Today. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight on RTM World and TV1 later this evening at 8:30 p.m. Alternatively, you can stream us live on RTM Click's website and mobile application. Until next time, I'm Brenda Lepol, Malaysia Madani, kesejahteraan dinikmati. Thanks for your company and take care.
Aku berjanji